Welcome everybody back to Late Night Snacks.
Wait, you want to get down? Hello.
We are here to discuss the latest. It's categorized as a horror movie, but I would say it's more of a psychological thriller.
Yep, suspense thriller.
Suspenseful thriller, something like that.
Yeah, it's a thriller.
Although I could see it being a horror if you lived it.
Well, yeah.
So with that, I am one of your hosts tonight, Irish Melly, along with
that guy. That guy and crazy ass Nuka not behaving tonight.
And Nuka's around there somewhere.
Doing his thing.
But we are going to
talk about you.
Discuss with you guys tonight Sarah Paulson's latest release, which is RUN, which just came out on Friday on Hulu. November 20th. Here, I'll let you guys see it. November 20th. For those of you who are watching this video later, November 20th, 2020. And we will just jump right in. We'll discuss this movie. We'll explain the ending, and then we'll tell you what we think about it.
What are you doing?
Let me pull this up.
Huh? Oh. Stop.
All right. So
There she is.
we see we start with a mother and a daughter, and we see that they're just enjoying their lives. They're living. You can tell it seems to be a single mother with a teenage daughter. We see the daughter go through what seems to be her daily life of medication and then waking up and then being sick. And at the very beginning of the movie, you are given a few things, a few different ailments, and they describe them for you. Asthma, diabetes, arrhythmia, and there was one more. But they explain what these things mean because these are all things that the daughter Chloe suffers from. And so we open with seeing Sarah Paulson laying in a bed praying as they bring in a wheelchair, and then we see that she is taken to what we are now known to be as her baby daughter, who apparently was not breathing on her own. They have her in an incubator now, and we see she's very, very tiny. Mm-hmm. And then we see years later, that's when we see them sitting at the table. We see her, we see Chloe being sick, all these different things, diabetes, medications. And then even the mother's very strict on her candies and things like that. She's only allowed one candy because of her blood sugar. Mm-hmm. And we know that she's waiting to get into college. She's wanting to get into, I believe it was Washington State. And she waits for the mail every day. And she's wheelchair bound. If we haven't said that already, I'm sorry. The daughter, Chloe, is wheelchair bound. And the mother's name is Diane. And
any news from any college.
Yeah. And that was the thing, is she wasn't receiving anything. Yeah. And she would run. She would wheel as quickly as she could. This girl is quick. She is super fast. Let's just say that. And she would get to that door, and her mom would be there with the mail, and she would say, honey, I told you if we get anything from the college, I will let you know.
Yeah. And that's where things get a little hooky.
Right. And then we get to this point here where this shot, we see the mother comes back from the grocery store, and the daughter decides she wants to try and sneak some extra chocolates, where she sees a medication bottle in there. It's a new medication, and it has her mother's name on it. And these are green and gray or green and white capsules. Yeah. And so then her mother brings her medication in the evening, and she notices the pill is in there, and she tells her mother, I thought this was your medication. And right then, something is wrong, obviously. And then, she doesn't answer her about the medication. She gaslights her, where she's like, honey, that was just the receipt. And this girl's been taking medication her whole life. She would understand, if there's a receipt on the medication or not. And the mother says that was just the receipt wrapped around it with my name on it. And so then the girl gets inquisitive. She wants to find out about this medication. She waits till her mother goes to sleep, and then she proceeds to sneak into the downstairs area to get on the internet to try and look up this medication, because as we see, there's only the one computer that we know of in the house, and that's like the main room, the living room area. The girl doesn't have one, and she even makes a comment earlier in the movie about, oh well, if I had an iPhone, I could do this or this, because the girl's very smart, and she's like an engineer. She's very intuitive. And what am I trying to say? But you can tell she's very intelligent. This girl from the jump, you can tell, and not just education wise. Like, she's smart. She figures stuff out quickly. She sees that the internet's not working, so she can't look up this medication. And then we get this shot right here. And this is why I paused the video here that I put together for you guys. Because I want you to see, if you didn't look quickly, you would have missed this. We see a silhouette of Sarah Paulson just sitting very creepily and quietly in the dark at the kitchen table, watching her daughter on the computer.
Yep. So,
say anything, nothing. Nope. And then, so I guess we don't see what happens. They just kind of cut to the next day, but I assume then that Chloe just went back to bed because the internet wasn't working.
Yep.
Then her mother's on the phone the next day, and she tells her, well, it's going to be a few days or whatever. It's going to be a month. She says it could be a month before the internet's working. This all sounds weird. You're kind of like, what's going on here? What do you mean you're not going to have internet for a month? There's no way they're having outages like that unless you have some natural disaster in your area. And then when the girl, when she had found the medication, that's when we saw her peel back the label, and she had seen the label underneath was her mom's name, that she had just put a label with her name over top of that bottle.
Well, so we find out they're for animals.
Right. These are actually animal muscle relaxers. And when she'll find that out in a little bit here, but she actually makes a phone call here where she just calls a random number, because she calls with the internet not working. She calls 411. For those of you who are too old or not old enough to know, or who still don't use it, 411 is what you dial on your phone for information. Yeah, when you can't just Google something and search it on your computer, there are operators to get you information. So she calls a pharmacy, and she realizes that the pharmacist knows them, so she can't ask her about these pills, and she hangs up. She calls a random number. Some guy answers, and the guy is fighting in the background with, I guess, what would probably be his girlfriend, something similar like that, significant other. And then she basically talks the stranger in, by sweet talking him, talks him into looking up and Googling this medication.
Yeah.
Which seems highly unlikely to me, but I mean, we'll get into that in a minute. But then, that's when she finds out the name of the medication that's on her pill bottle. And she finds out they're supposed to be red pills, and that they are for a heart condition. Well, obviously that's not what she was given and what she's taken.
No.
So they go to the movies. She tricks her mom into taking her to the movies.
Yeah, that seems to be both of their scapegoats. When was the last time we were at the movies?
Let's see. Here I'll go back a little bit. Yeah, so she talks her mom into taking her to the movie. Which I want to point out real quick and interesting, is that the movie playing is Fake News Coming Soon and Breakout, which we know that's what this girl is starting to feel. This is what she needs to do.
Yes.
So that was very symbolic. So they're watching the movie. The mother, she says, I have to go to the bathroom. She proceeds to pretend to go to the bathroom, but what she does is she actually goes across the street to where the pharmacy is at. And this is why she has talked her mother into taking her to the movies, because she knew the pharmacy was right next door to the movie theater that they would go to. So she proceeds to speak with the pharmacist and ask the pharmacist about this medication that she's taking. And the pharmacist tells her, I can't give you any information. I can't tell you about this. Oh, and this right here, I love this line. She says, excuse me, would you mind if I cut in front of you? And the guy's like, no, wait your turn, until he looks down and he sees she's in a wheelchair. And she goes, oh, thank you. And it's funny, she asked the guy in the very back of the line, and he approved it. So that meant everybody else did too, because she just zooms past everybody. And she says, excuse me, coming through. I'm disabled. Sorry, I'm disabled.
Yeah, it's funny because she's starting she's starting to figure out that she's not quite disabled. She's got a lot of resentment right here.
Right. And so she speaks with the pharmacist, and this is when she finds out that these are animal muscle relaxers.
Yep.
she's panicking because she's trying to hurry before her mother shows up, and then she can't get the information, or her mother knows what she was doing. The mother shows up, panicked, freaking out, and the girl gets the information, and she has a literal, like, full-on meltdown panic attack. Now, the mother right away tells the pharmacist, she says, go get her some ice. And then she tells all these other people who aren't even, let me point out, especially with social distancing right now, these people are like 6 feet away from this girl at the front of the line.
Okay.
And she says, back up, can't you see we need some space, or she needs some air, something like that. I'm like, oh my God, what? And that just right there caught me off guard. I had to laugh. And then we see her stab her in the leg with a syringe.
Uh-huh.
And then that's why she tried to get everybody away, so that she could, more covertly stab her with this syringe. And then we see the girl wake up the next morning. So we know that it knocked her out.
Yep.
She wakes up. Yeah. She wakes up and she starts saying, Mom, I'm sorry. I apologize, all of this. And she tries to get out of her room and realizes she's locked in her room. She can't get out of her room. So
what's she do? She's gonna go crawl on the roof.
So again, we said this girl is smart. She is ingenuitive. There we go. Ingenuitive. And so she grabs a bunch of extension cords. She grabs a blanket, and she grabs her soldering iron and gets all that ready. And then because she still can't use her legs don't work. So before she drags herself out the window with all of this stuff,
literally dragging herself.
Right. She gets a mouthful of water. And you're thinking, what are you doing? Are you thirsty? You're going to hold on to that? And I don't think they show it. Yeah. They don't show it here in this clip. But what she does is very smart. She actually crawls down one roof, up a roof, and down another roof slope. These are slopes anyway. They're all the same roof, but slopes. And she has her soldering iron plugged into these extension cords. And what she does is she stabs the center of the window with her soldering iron.
Yep.
Pulls it out. And then she takes the water that she still managed, after dragging herself through all of this, still managed not to swallow, and spits the water at the window. And I knew right away what it was going to do. It was going to shatter the window, because the heat meeting the cold, you create, that chemical reaction, the friction, and it shattered the window. And she used the blanket to put over the window to crawl and drag herself through. Girl's smart. Girl is smart. And so then she proceeds to crawl into what I believe is her mom's room, but the phone cord she sees is already cut in there. She then tries to get downstairs, and this is when she tries to get back to her room, and this is when she sees that there's a big, like, gardening tool across her door that will not let her get out. She's not just locked in, she's barricaded in. And her mother isn't home right now, at this point, obviously. But then she realizes that her chairlift to take her up and down the stairs, the wires are cut, so that she can't go anywhere, do anything. She's stuck even on that floor. So then her wheelchair, I don't remember if she pushed it or if it rolled. I don't think she meant for it to, but it rolled off of down the stairs. And then she proceeds to fall / throw herself down the stairs.
Yeah.
And I mean, oh my God, this scene, it was a stunt double, but wow. I was like, how did she not break her neck?
I know.
And this is where she lands right here when she falls down the stairs.
And this is all the stuff that's building up to lead the movie to be like, yeah, what are we doing?
We see then that her feet actually move. Her toes wiggle.
Yeah. She's like,
and she's trying to get away. She's trying to get out of this house and get away as fast as she can. So she's wheeling herself as fast as she can. And like we said, this girl's quick down the road. And she then runs into the mailman. And she stops the mailman, who she knows by name. This is their regular mailman. He knows her family, her situation. She tells the mailman, hey, my mom hurt me, because he sees that she's bloody and she's bruised and she's beaten up because she's done climbed over roofs. She's done fallen down the stairs. She's dragged herself back into her chair. She's gotten down the road. This girl is, if nothing else, determined to get out of her situation, which for her, because not a lot of people have that strength in that moment. But
especially when you're just finding this out.
Right. And so the mailman is stopping to help her. And this is when mom comes up behind him and he tells her, I can't let you see her. We're going to go to the hospital. You can follow us there. And she tries to manipulate the mailman too. You see it where she's manipulating the mailman and she's saying, you've known me. She's delusional. It's her new medication. She's sick. All these things. And the mailman's like, yeah, well, just to be safe, she said this, I'm going to take her to the doctor. Which is a good guy, because a lot of people might not have wanted to get involved and might not have done that.
No. Are you kidding me? Why would they? Shoot. You become liable when you do that shit.
And especially with a child that has multiple illnesses, diseases, disabilities, multiple things wrong with them and issues. Yep. So then he gets her in the mail truck. He's getting ready to close the door, and something's about to happen. You just know. And sure enough, Diane comes right up behind good old Thomas, the mailman, and stabs him in the neck with a syringe filled with who knows what.
Some kind of tranquilizer.
It's some kind of tranquilizer, obviously, right? Because then, we see them back at their house. And she has now locked the daughter in, I guess, what is her study, her office, it seems to be a basement. This is where she discovers all of the secrets. She discovers a box with her mother's name on it, full of secrets. She discovers her acceptance letter to the university she's been waiting to hear from. She was actually accepted. She finds pictures of herself, dated 2006. So this would have been when she was, a couple of years old, because we know she's 17. And I'm assuming it's going by 2020. So it's like right now it's 2020. So that would be, she's about 3 years old in this picture, which sounds about right. She looks about 3 years old. But she discovers that when she removes this Post-it, she's jumping, running, walking. This is something she obviously doesn't remember. And we also see her find articles. We see her find a death certificate for Chloe, which, is her. She's like, why do I have a death certificate?
Yeah.
And I just want to point out, I called all of this right before they even started saying it. I'm like, it's going to be this, this, and this. And then I even shocked myself because I thought I was just being out there with my guess. But then we see articles where these people are begging and pleading for their newborn daughter was kidnapped from a hospital to be returned. Come to find out, Diane's daughter died. She was a premature baby who died shortly. They said she lived about 2 hours, wasn't it?
Less than 2 hours, I think. Something
like that, about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And then the baby died. Well, she's grief-stricken and she's, just in the state that she's in. She takes another baby from the hospital and they show her staring at the nursery and staring at this baby. And then she gives this baby the name of her baby that died and raises this baby and takes care of this baby. And then, like we said, okay, so now spoiler alert, this is where it all starts to unravel. We find out that she has been, hiding this child. She stole her. She's been hiding her. She's hidden everything from her. And we find out that
the state was okay with it.
Yes. And a lot of her illnesses are concocted by her mother. She did not have these illnesses and these ailments. And the mother has been giving her tranquilizers, muscle relaxers, and other medications for so long that it's actually caused her to have paralysis.
With aliens.
Yeah. And so then her mother comes down to the basement office where she's discovered all of this paperwork and everything. And she starts explaining to her why she did it. And, she loves her and those other people don't love her and they don't care about her. And we have seen this mother be a little psychotic and, like a helicopter parent, overprotective, too much. Whereas now when Sarah Paulson comes into this room, we see another side of her as Diane. We see the immense just, and so Chloe locks herself in a closet in this room, which looks like a pantry type of room, locks herself in there. There's a bunch of medications, just different medicinal things in there. She finds this bottle of a chemical and she decides to take it because on the bottle it says to call 911 immediately after ingesting.
Yeah, she wants to go to the hospital.
Ingested, call 911 immediately. But I need to back up. Before that, before she hid in the closet, when Diane's freaking out and she's telling her, how they're going to be together and she's going to make sure she stays with her. She's made this concoction that already looks like sludge that she adds paint thinner to, that she then pumps into a syringe. And she's chasing her with it. And that's why she hides in the closet. She's like, don't kill me. Don't kill me. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. She's like, I would never do that. I would never, kill you. I would never harm you like that. And that's when she realizes, it clicks right there, that she realizes she doesn't want her dead. She just wants her where she needs her for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
And so she decides then to grab this bottle and take this medicine, organophosphate.
Yeah.
And we see her freaking out because she knows at this point she's got to get her to the hospital. At the hospital, they start to get suspicious because it seems like she's had many, many doctors and they've switched over time. Now, she is sitting in this hospital bed and she's on a ventilator. She has a tube down her throat. They've had to pump her stomach. They think they have her on suicide watch because they think that she is suicidal. And so she wants to write something. So the nurse tells her, I can't give you a pen. There's rules because you're on suicide watch. So she gives her a crayon and she starts to try and write something before there's suddenly a code blue, which they don't tell you, but I feel like Diane was responsible for that code blue. Like maybe she did something so that it would get them away from Chloe because she already knew the doctors were suspicious of her. And so then the nurse leaves the room. And then the next thing we know, Diane is there basically scooping Chloe up, taking her off of the machines, putting her in a wheelchair and telling her, you're coming with me. We're getting out of here. We're leaving. And then we end up at the escalator, which she sees is out of order. Security's already looking for her. And this is where we get this shot.
Yep.
Oh, they didn't. I cut it. Sorry. But we see that Chloe literally and figuratively puts her foot down.
Yep.
She picks up her leg and puts her foot down. It's not by any means anything, like stomping her foot or anything, but for somebody who's been paralyzed, this is amazing. And her mother sees this, and that's when we see that look on Sarah's face, that like, oh my God moment. And then she holds up the gun So security shoots her in the arm. She falls down this escalator that's out of order. She's laying at the bottom of the stairs. And then it just kind of sirens, cuts to black. And we think she had to have died from that fall. Or better yet, let her be now, paralyzed for the rest of her life in a wheelchair from this incident. And then we see a flash to 7 years later. 7 years later, we see Chloe is entering a correctional facility, and we see her actually stop by the metal detector, and she gets out of her wheelchair, and she uses a cane, and she walks through the metal detector and then gets back in her wheelchair. But it's those small steps, literally, that she's making progress. And she's sitting next to Diane in this bed, and she's telling her, about her family and how well they're doing. And she's talking about children. It's 7 years later. She's married. She has children. And she, just a little dig for Diane. She says, I forget what the kids' names are, but she says something about, and they saw all their grandparents. They were with their grandparents, which tells us that she's reconnected with her real parents, her biological parents, that she's been missing from her whole 17 years of life at that point. We don't know how much longer within this 7 years she connected with them. We would like to think that it was soon after 17 years, because she's still 17. She's disabled. She needs someone to take after her or take care of her, right?
Yep.
So then we get to her telling her about her life. We see the shot of Diane in this bed, and she's just emaciated. She looks horrible. And we see Chloe spit something out of her mouth into her hand. She says, I love you, Mom. And here it is. And she says, now open up wide. And she has these pills in her hand, and they are the paralytic pills, the muscle relaxer pills. So she then proceeds to tell her to open up wide. So basically she's feeding her these pills. And that's how it ends. That's how the movie ends. And you're kind of left scratching your head with a bunch of questions, but at the same time, a lot was answered. I want to mention that as soon as I started watching this, maybe it's because I know more on the subject, whereas I realize not everybody does. I knew it was Munchausen syndrome, Munchausen by proxy syndrome. And I will pull up the definition for you guys, because I want to give you the exact definition. It says Munchausen syndrome is a psychological disorder where someone pretends to be ill or deliberately produces symptoms of illness in themselves or others. Their main intention is to assume the sick role so that people care for them, and they are the center of attention.
Yep.
So that's where you get the by proxy, because Munchausen syndrome is where you're more so wanting to get the attention for yourself. You're making yourself sick. Now, by proxy is generally, we see it with parents doing it to their children, and not all the time, but it usually tends to be mothers with their children. And it's generally after some type of loss or traumatic event in the family, especially medically, where they will get an immense amount of attention and support from people that they otherwise wouldn't normally get. And they kind of become addicted to this attention, and they have to keep getting it and keep feeding it. And they can't live without it. They don't know what to do without it. So this was very reminiscent to me, which they could have drawn inspiration from, which wouldn't surprise me, because I did see similarities in the Gypsy Rose Blanchard story. They have done movies about that, but I definitely recommend something more documentary based when you watch that story. But that was very similar with the mother, Munchausen by proxy, and she for years convinced everyone her daughter was ill and dying. I mean, to the point where she gave this girl medication that her teeth fell out of her head, her hair fell out, her hair had to be shaved. She actually got radiation treatments, and then they convinced other people that she was going through other chemo treatments and just all kinds of horrible, horrible things. And she eventually ended up killing her mother and then went to prison for it. So that was a little bit different. But so that
going with this one.
What, Mike, what do you want to say about the ending and what you think the ending meant?
Well, at first I thought the ending was going to be really deep and really just like, whoa, shit, where are we going with this? Because they wanted you to believe that she was a prisoner there. She was actually working in the prison, but she was wearing like the same type of gray type of color, and you couldn't really see. It was like an up shot, a far away shot when she was talking to people, so you couldn't tell that she was just talking to other inmates or being instructed or something like that. And then she goes back, and her mom's in there. You realize, oh, okay, wait a minute, she doesn't work there, and she goes to talk to her mom. And if they would have made Chloe, made her full of remorse and just absolutely mortified. That's why she keeps visiting her. Mortified that her mother has ended up like this by her own hand. I would have had a lot more praise for the ending. The ending was just so typical. They just threw it away. In my opinion, it's like, oh, okay, the revenge plot, and I'm gonna get you, mother. And you know, as soon as Sarah Paulson gave that tagline the first time around, you need me. I was like, that's how it's gonna end. She's gonna turn around. She's gonna say that'll be the last lines. You need me. Sure, shit, it wasn't. It was so unoriginal that it was just like, I thought where they were going was going to be brilliant. I was like, oh my God, this is finally somebody's telling a story of an abused person who just remains abused. And it's like, it's so commonplace. We never get to see that tragic side of it. We only get to see the hero, and all of a sudden they become, you know, this big gotcha kind of moment. And I was like, oh, I was so hoping it was going to go the other way. And then I thought for a second, I was like, is this an idealistic dream for her? Is she not in this prison? Is the mother really dead? And she's envisioning what life could have been if her mother had.
Yeah.
I got a couple different thoughts.
I thought that at one point too. I liked the ending because it was different, because there was some things I thought that were going to happen. I thought she was going to kill her mother because, like I said, I saw similarities with the Gypsy Rose Blanchard story. So I thought she was going to kill her mother, not like purposely kill her, but in self-defense or accidentally. And or I thought the mother was going to accidentally kill her. But I'm glad they didn't go either way. I liked what they did here because it shows you the twisted thinking of someone who's been brought up in this their whole life, who has been gaslighted, manipulated, you know, their whole life by someone and by this situation. So I liked that it was like the role reversal, because we hear her just smiling and talking about her family. You don't expect her to do something dark at that point. And so it's like, it's revenge, but at the same time, she still calls her mom.
Yeah.
See, she still says mom. And it one of the things that got me was, we know that so even if she's going regularly, like she has to go regularly to keep giving her this medication, because we see her laid up in the bed. So we don't know how long she's been laid up in this bed. We don't know if she is paralyzed or not. We just know she looks emaciated, as sick as hell. And I'm thinking, if she's like force feeding her these pills, why wouldn't she talk? Why wouldn't she say something to someone about it? But it made me think, just psychologically, maybe she feels, one, that she deserves it, but two, playing on the Munchausen by proxy syndrome, she's still getting that attention from the main person that she wants it from.
Yep, she's still getting the attention. Exactly.
Just not in the way she might have envisioned it, but she's still getting it. And attention's attention to someone with Munchausen.
Yep.
And I think the daughter knew that, but I think the daughter still also suffers from like a Stockholm type of syndrome, from her captor, where
Yeah,
she
that's
still
what
has
I don't
love
know.
and compassion for her captor.
I really want them to go there. I really want them to show that that Chloe still remained abused, and that shit is that powerful, and that she's tortured from all this. But they went the Hollywood ending, which was it's fun. It's a fun ending. Is to be like
Yeah.
but it's deep. But I still think there's something. I have to go back and look at it again on how it was paced because it still feels out of Dream. It feels out of a normal life thing. So I wonder if they're really trying to tell us that this was just a idealism in her own head.
I thought it could go that way for a while too. And I think once I know we've both only watched it once now, but I think on rewatch, knowing what we know now, I think it might look a little bit different from the beginning of what we'll see and notice. And I just want to give a shout out to B. BRT is in the house. Hey, B.
Yeah, so
He said, great movie. I loved it. I watched it without seeing a trailer or getting any spoilers, and it's magnificent. I did the same.
I did.
I saw a clip of the trailer.
That's it. Yep.
But I did not see the whole trailer, and I didn't see anything. The clip I saw didn't give away anything anyway, which I'm glad to know now. It didn't.
I knew right away what we were in for. I was like, oh, this is going to be the mother-daughter Munchausen kind of crap.
That was what I thought right away, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't want any spoilers or anything. And that's why going in, as soon as I saw it, I knew. It was like, oh, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. This feels icky,
Yep.
So yeah, totally. And I thought it was a great movie. Like you said, there's things I would have liked to be different. There's things I would have changed. B says he thought it was the best ending ever. He really enjoyed the ending. So I'm glad to hear that though, that I don't want it to be something where we hear everybody disappointed in the ending.
I was disappointed. I just wish they would have gone a different direction.
Right. And I know this was also supposed to be released in May. This was supposed to be released around Mother's Day this year originally. And obviously with the pandemic, obviously that pushed everything back. So that very well could have changed some of the ending. We're not sure. Maybe that because we know the whole pandemic and lockdown happened in, the big pandemic push happened in February for the US. So we don't know what that did from that point with, shutting down productions and filming, and because even they weren't able to edit stuff, even if they had it.
The first one shut down.
Yeah. So, I mean, but I guess just to wrap it up, overall,
first off, we have to say this. This is one of Sarah Paulson's best performances of her career. I mean, this is defining for her. Because
can we just say, bow to the queen?
She's taken everything that she's learned from Horror Story with all of her screaming and panicking and kind of Jamie Lee Curtis kind of crazy stuff, and has really focused it and really used it in a crazy, not in a horror. And this woman was batshit crazy, and Sarah was incredibly believable. I mean, you had compassion for her.
We also have to look at it from the perspective that we have to realize, and I think that's how Sarah played it. And I'm sure she dug into this character because she does all of her characters. But this woman came from a serious trauma that obviously she didn't get help for and wasn't dealt with. And so then that she went into her own psychosis, which you don't fully understand unless you're there and you've been there. Hell, even postpartum depression after you have a child, dealing with that on top of losing a child and everything else. I mean, it can really mess you up psychologically.
Best moment in this movie, the single best line in this movie is when Chloe's sitting there saying, "But they're my parents. Why did you take me from them?" And she turns and she screams, "I was saving you for them." And I was like, "Whoa,
I saved you from them." Yeah. Like, how do you know these were horrible people? Like you.
Oh God, it was just the way
and she said they didn't deserve you.
Her conviction in that was so. Oh God, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Sarah's the queen.
Definitely. Oh, and can we point out too, Kira? I want to say, is it Kira Bailey? I could totally be wrong. Please don't quote me on it. I had it written down. But the actress who plays Chloe, first of all, let's give it up to them for actually employing and hiring a disabled actor for the role.
She's disabled actress.
Yes, and this was her breakout role. This is her breakthrough role, and she did amazing carrying herself.
I did not know this.
Making you believe this story.
Yeah. I had no idea. As a disabled actress, I had no clue. When were they talking about that? Still in making ofs?
Yeah, probably.
Wow, I have to watch some of that because I didn't know. I thought it was a regular actress. I thought this was one of the girls from Booksmart.
No. Yeah,
she's great. She's amazing.
So basically, what we're saying is we recommend this movie. I would give it a 9 out of 10. How about you?
8, solid 8 out of 10. I had fun. It created my toes. A little predictable.
Okay,
but
so better than average is what we are telling you guys. This movie is worth the time.
This subject matter has been done to death because of the whole what's her face's case, but there's some really sick shit in this, and it's like I wish we would see a movie one of these times where it's just like they go really deep into the horror of this disease and what these women do to their daughters or to their children or whatever. Like there's a girl on Big Brother one year, this chick Raven, who was living that nightmare, and it was playing out on national TV. All the stories that she would say about her illnesses. The bitch was having surgeries to stay in this limelight. It was crazy. It was really dark, crazy stuff. I wish we'd get a movie where it really goes into it.
So we just want to point out again, this is available. Oh, wait, this way. This way. It is available on Hulu. It is a Hulu original, so you will only find it on Hulu. And yeah, it's available now. Go check it out. Check out one of Sarah Paulson's best roles, we think, in a long time. We definitely highly recommend it.
This will get you on the Sarah train. You watch this movie, and you want to watch other Sarah Paulson movies.
True. If you're not a Sarah fan or you're on the fence about her, watch this role, and it will definitely convince you to check out some of her other work.
Yes.
With that, we are Late Night Snacks. I'm Irish Smelly.
And as that guy and snoring ass Nuka.
That guy and Nuka. We love you. We love you for being here. Remember, be kind to someone. We will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.